Hello, my loves. I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel, where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And I wanted to talk today about speaking the truth and the scare tactics of the narcissist, right? Because, look, the reason why we are so controlled, dominated, and stay in this abuse cycle, one of them is the scare tactics of the narcissist. They will literally play on your worst fears and make you feel like without them you can't survive, and they're going to do something very terrible and destructive in your life, which they may well do, by the way. They may well do. Our job is to recover and get energetically sovereign so that we can rebuild and rebuild sustainably and happily. They're going to do the worst things to us, right? So I just want to share a personal story, because recently I don't have any contact with my family of origin, but of course I got love bombed by my brother, and who then, when I was saying I will not tolerate abuse and I'm not available for this, basically then tried to scare me into being afraid because I'm sharing publicly. Actually, I haven't actually shared publicly very much about the awful treatment of my family of origin, the awful things they did to me. But what I am not prepared to do anymore in my life is deny that I was heavily abused, that I was heavily scapegoated and antagonized and tormented in ways that were an absolute disgrace. I am absolutely unwilling not to speak my truth on this matter. And the fact that I've got a public platform, obviously they've been stalking my social media or something, and so they were making threats to me last night around it. And what do I want to say about that? There was a time in my life where that would have triggered me so badly, that I wouldn't even admit. I wouldn't even admit until I got to 30 years old, even though therapists have told me and people had told me, my friends had told me, like how terrible my parents treated me. There was levels of physical abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, mild sexual abuse, like all sorts of totally inappropriate, totally brutal, totally devastating things that went on in my household. But I came from a good family that looked picture perfect on the outside, right? My father was a well-respected man, so I was being told the whole time that I was crazy, that there was something wrong with me. Because how could this person with this image and all these people that respected him and loved him, right, be what he was behind closed doors? I'm telling you, it was a whole different thing, especially when it came to me. So what do I want to say? Energetic resilience, being willing to stand in the truth no matter what. Now, look, many people aren't going to understand what a narcissist is, but they are going to understand when you say, my parents were abusive, right? Why don't you speak to your parents? They were abusive. I was highly abused as a child. When we actually know what's happened to us and stand in the truth, there is power in it. And I encourage us all to do it. I think we need more voices. I think we need to stand up stronger. And actually, hearing those threats last night has made me think, well, I've hardly touched on any of what happened to me. Perhaps I should speak louder. Perhaps I should stand in the absolute truth, the travesty, the absolute diabolical things and ways I was treated. And did that have a lasting, because they were saying, oh, you should just get over this and you shouldn't be talking about it and you shouldn't be helping people with it. Guess what? This kind of devastation can affect your whole life. It can affect your finances, your well-being, your health, your mental health, everything. It is not something that happened in the past. Like narcissists will tell you, oh, it happened in the past, don't talk about it again. It has a lasting effect until we know how to heal and transform, which is what I'm all about. So the more people that stand up against this and actually don't tolerate it, the better. I believe it should be criminally sanctioned, which is what I said. Because the damage or potential damage to the target is something that we don't just get over. It isn't something that I saw many counsellors, but none of them knew what a narcissist was. It took me years to get to this point, years to unpack it, years to understand it, and years to help people radically remove it from their life. So there's no shame in if your life hasn't worked out. If you've been through this kind of torture, if your life didn't work out the way you thought it should, right, know that you're an absolute warrior and you've been through the worst. This is something that we need more consciousness on the planet. We need more people to understand, and certainly we need more voices to be heard. So I'm all for us sharing our stories, standing in the truth, and not using language that actually is misunderstood. You know, like if we put it in this niche little sector of narcissism, which it is, sometimes we're going to be misunderstood. I think we should widely communicate it. People understand I was abused. I was really abused. What we haven't understood, because of cognitive dissonance, because that we love our caregivers, because we love the people who were supposed to love us, is what actually equals abuse. And it's been so normalized and such a normal part of our life. I have a doggy going crazy in here, so excuse the noise, but probably the vibes, right? This is about personal power. This is about the truth. This is about setting people free. This is about rapidly and radically healing and transforming and cutting out all the shame. You know, I lived in shame my whole life about it. I lived in so much shame. I think I should share more personal stories, not just to let you know that I get it. And I was heavily affected in every area of my life. I repeated the most awful toxic relationships. I had terrible, I just thought I couldn't do life at certain points because I was so mentally affected. This is not something that goes away until we learn how to be sovereign. This is not something that we're expected to just get over. This is really high levels of psychological, emotional neglect and abuse that really, like, human beings are not wired to withstand, right? And when you have been completely cast out, like I was, from your family of origin, it's one of the most brutal realities, especially after going through so much abuse and then to be discarded as if you don't exist and you don't matter, which is what all narcissists do on some level to us. That also conditions us to a whole lifetime, if we don't break it, of toxic cycles and toxic relationships. It's a devastating cycle, and we're here to break free. So lots of love, guys. Keep commenting, sharing, subscribing. I appreciate you being here so much, and I'll speak to you soon.